Hey guys, how are you today? Today I want to talk about this agreement between Department of War and OpenAI. So just for the context, previously Claude was used in Department of War, which is from Anthropic. So Anthropic had an agreement to deploy their models within Department of War. But there was a conflict between Department of War and Anthropic because Anthropic doesn't allow Department of War to use their models for two specific use cases. So they want to include that explicitly in the contract, which are using the models for mass domestic surveillance and also using the models to operate fully autonomous weapon system. So those are the two use cases Anthropic explicitly wants to specify as excluded use cases in the contract. But Department of War refused to do that and refused to agree to that. And because of that, there was a conflict between Department of War and Anthropic, and Department of War threatened that they will label Anthropic as a supply chain risk. And Department of War is looking for alternate options. Now they have struck a deal with OpenAI. So which means all the Anthropic models will be removed from use and OpenAI models will be used. So that is the context for this. Now let's go and understand what this agreement says and how this is different from the agreement Department of War had with Anthropic, and how OpenAI tackles the issues that are raised by Anthropic. First, OpenAI says that they have reached an agreement with the Pentagon for deploying advanced AI systems in classified systems, and they say that they have also requested the same to be made available to other AI companies. Then they are saying that they have more guardrails than any other previous agreement, including the one with Anthropic, including the one that the government had with Anthropic. And then they are describing the three main red lines. Two of these are same as the one that we have seen with Anthropic. So mass domestic surveillance and directing autonomous weapon system. These are the two, use cases that Anthropic wants to include in the contract, so that government and Department of War will not use the models for these two use cases. In addition to these two use cases, OpenAI also has one additional use case, which is basically in a high stake situation, we don't want to automate the decisions. For example, if someone is looking for social credit, which is actually high stake situation, right? So if they don't get social credit when they actually deserve it, then it will ruin their life. And for such a high stake decisions, they are suggesting not to use AI. So these are the three main red lines they have described. And they then go on and say that they have seen some labs reducing and removing their safety guardrails and only relying on the usage policy. And OpenAI says that they don't think it will work. So because of that, they say they have created more expansive and multi-layered approach. And they are saying that in this approach, they fully have the discretion over safety stack, and they deploy the models in cloud rather than deploying it in government's own hardware. They say they will deploy this over cloud. And then they also say that they'll have security cleared personnel from OpenAI in the loop. So these personnel will be deployed within the government organizations and the Department of War, and they'll be helping and they'll be helping and monitoring how these models are used. And they say they will report back if there is any violation. And in addition to that, they say that they have strong contractual protection as well. So then they go on and say that they are understanding that the new risks introduced by the new technology, and they say that they want to provide the best models available so United States and the Department of War can defend the country with the best tools available. And then they specifically talk about these three things within the agreement. So the first thing is deployment architecture. So rather than allowing these models to be deployed directly in government hardware and edge devices, they're saying that this is going to be cloud only deployment, which means the deployment will be in the control of OpenAI, but the Department of War and other government organizations can interact with it just like how they would interact with any other cloud deployment. Then they are saying that this architecture enables verifying the usages of these models by these government departments and Department of War independently. And then the second point that they are raising is their contract. They're saying that their contract allow all lawful purposes, but then they are saying that they have included clauses to explicitly exclude these clauses, which are using the models for directing autonomous weapons, where law, regulation, or department policy requires human control. So if they are not saying that they can never use AI models to direct autonomous weapons, but they are saying that if we have law, regulation, or department policy which prevents them from using these autonomous weapons without human in the loop, then they cannot do so. Basically, they are not saying that you can't do it. If you already have a policy, law, or regulation which prevents you from doing it, you can't do that in the future either. That is what they're saying. And then they are also saying that it shouldn't be used for high-stake decisions that require approval by human. So this is an example for social credit situation that we have seen previously. Then they are saying that according to the existing laws, they shouldn't use this for unconstrained monitoring of US persons' private information. So the difference between this and Anthropic is that they are explicitly stating some of the laws and regulations which are available and saying that based on this it is not legal now, and because it is not legal you can't use it for these use cases, which includes unconstrained monitoring of US persons' private information. And then they are saying that it should not be used for domestic law enforcement activities either, because that is not allowed as per Pos Comitas Act and other applicable laws. And then the final point that they are raising is they'll have OpenAI engineers in the loop within these government organizations. They'll be helping the government. Then they have listed some FAQs. The first one is why they are doing it. They are saying that they are doing it because they want to provide the best tools available to US military so they can do their job even better. And secondly, they are saying that they want to de-escalate things between Department of War and the US AI labs, because things were not going right between Department of War and Anthropic, which was creating a lot of tension between UI labs and the Department of War, right? So they said that they have done this to de-escalate that situation. And they say that they want all the issues between government and Anthropic to be resolved. And then the second FAQ is that how you could reach a deal when Anthropic could not. Because more or less the ask is same, right? So Department of War is not going to change the requirement with OpenAI. It is going to be the same requirement. So it is a valid question, right? So how you managed to struck a deal when Anthropic couldn't. So for that they are saying that they have chosen cloud only deployment, and they have agreed to keep humans in the loop, which is OpenAI personnel in the loop. And they are saying that they don't know why Anthropic could not reach this deal, because if OpenAI can do this, Anthropic can also do this. So they are basically saying that they don't know why Anthropic couldn't reach this deal. And the next question is, do OpenAI think Anthropic should be designated as supply chain risk? They're saying no. And then the next question is, will this deal enable Department of War to use OpenAI models to power autonomous weapons? They're saying no. This is mainly because they think that because these models are cloud only, can't be deployed within edge devices due to the contract, they think it is not possible, but we don't know. Those edge devices may be able to connect to cloud-based deployment as well, right? So they think because it can't be deployed on edge devices, they think it can't be used to automate fully autonomous weapon systems, but we don't know. The next one is, will this deal enable Department of War to use OpenAI model to conduct mass surveillance on US personnel? They say no, it is because Department of War, they themselves know that this is illegal and they don't want to do it. So because of that, they think it will not happen. The next question is, do you want to deploy models without a safety check? They say no, we don't want to deploy models without safety checks, and they say that because they have cloud only deployment, they have full control over the safety stack. Then they are saying, what happens if government violates the terms of contract? And the reply is, just like with any other contract, it will be terminated, but they say that it won't happen. And then they are saying that, what if government changes the law or existing Department of War policies to circumvent the contractual clauses they have? And the reply is, they have explicitly included all the existing laws as of today, and they have explicitly stated that if the laws change, it doesn't mean that they can still use the new law with this contract. The contract is valid only with this law, as in this contract is bound to the law that is in use as of today. So if the law changes, it doesn't change the contract itself. That's what they're saying. So basically, if they change the law to allow autonomous weapon to be used without human in the loop, in the future, they are still saying that they can't use the models, OpenAI models, for that purpose, because when this contract was created, no such law existed, and because of that, they can't do it. That is what they're saying. And then this is the important thing. So this question is, how arguments made by Anthropic is handled by OpenAI in the contract. So two clauses, right? So the first one is mass domestic surveillance, and the second one is fully autonomous weapons. So for fully autonomous weapons, the argument from OpenAI side is that because this is cloud only deployment, it is not possible to power fully autonomous weapons, because powering fully autonomous weapons with these models require edge deployment, which is not happening here. And then for mass domestic surveillance, the reply is, Department of War considers mass domestic surveillance as illegal, and they say that they are not going to do it and they will not do it. And because they have human in the loop and they also have cloud only deployment, if any such incidents happen, it will be transparent, or it will be visible to OpenAI, so they'll be able to either terminate their contract or have a discussion with the Department of War. So this will not happen without OpenAI's knowledge. That is what basically this means. So yeah, so that is what this is, and my take on this. So yes, Anthropic has two strong points, and OpenAI also had those two strong points, which is mass domestic violation and mass domestic surveillance and fully autonomous weapons. But OpenAI is able to get this deal, but Anthropic couldn't. Do I think Anthropic wouldn't have considered cloud deployment, and they wouldn't have considered having Anthropic people in the Department of War? I'm sure they would have. I think it is more of a personal and political clash than the tool itself, because what OpenAI is giving to Department of War is exactly same as what Anthropic was doing for months. It is not going to be any different. So the only thing that they refused to do was to include the contract to say that the models can be used to do all legal activities. And OpenAI has done that, and then they have explicitly excluded these two uses, and also they say that they have better guardrails because they deploy it on cloud and they have OpenAI personnel in the loop. I'm sure Anthropic would have considered this and they would have proposed this. I think it is more of a personality clash and a political clash than anything wrong with Anthropic. So that is my take on it. But it doesn't matter which company is working with the Department of War. They're going to get more or less same outcome, and they're going to have more or less same models, because these two companies are head to head when it comes to their model qualities and performance. So yeah, I think that's what I think. So the bottom line is, it is not about contract, it is about the personality clash and political clash, because Anthropic doesn't get along with Trump's government, and Trump doesn't like Anthropic, and because of that they found a way to kick Anthropic out and bring OpenAI in. So that's what I think this is all about. Okay, so but there is nothing going to change in terms of their use and the capabilities that Department of War is getting, because both Anthropic and OpenAI provides more or less same models in my opinion. Okay, so that's my take on it. I hope this is useful. Thank you.